These talks are really about the message of not two, or you could say non-duality, yeah. But really, we can't really talk about not two because words would be two-ness. Uh, so talking about the absolute in a way would just distort its absoluteness. Yeah, talking about the absolute would distort the absoluteness. Because as soon as words happen, it becomes an interpretation. So we can really just point at it. But what we can really talk about is two-ness. Yeah? And primarily, or not primarily, but in a big way, the two-ness that is trying to constantly get to oneness. This is, because you can see two-ness, yeah? Or in a way, if this, when we look at this through the path of negation, which is kind of the best, at least for me, it's what's kind of worked the best. You can see two-ness, so you can see in a way what needs to be negated or what you're not. You can't see or perceive what you already are because you're it, you see? And this is very important. In a way, you're not going to get non-duality. The head can't get it because it's the head is what's being seen. Duality is what's being seen. So that's what gets talked about in these talks. To sit here and say I'm the absolute and you're the absolute and we are the pervading love is great, but it's distorting it. Its non-existence in a way, yeah? But we can really talk about what gets negated or what gets inquired into because we can see that. You can't see your true nature. It's not something that's perceived in that way. Like you can see things. How could I? It's like the body in a way is a fish tank. So you have a fish tank. Let's say the body is a fish tank, but instead of being full of water, it's full of space, okay? So the body is full of space. Now, obviously, nothing can contain space. So the inside of the fish tank and the outside of the fish tank is the same space. It's a pervading space. So inside a fish tank, there's fish swimming around. So those fish could represent thoughts, sensations, ideas, concepts. The sense of being the one, yeah? Which would be a thought. I would be a thought. So let's say these are all fish within the fish tank. Now the fish are swimming around in the space of the fish tank, but the fish don't change the space. Yeah? So that's pretty obvious. That can be seen, yeah? That's bad. So if the body's the fish tank and then it's full of space, there's a bunch of fish within the fish tank. Oh, hi, Sook Dave. After Jay Gatsby. Oh, nice. Yeah, so there's a bunch of fish swimming around in a fish tank, but those fish, like the ideas and the thoughts and the sensations and the emotions, don't change the space in which the fish are swimming through, yeah? Okay, now this is the thing that happens. The fish want to become not fish. The fish want to become the space, yeah? But the fish who are swimming around in the fish tank, they can't become the space because it's not their nature. They're fish. They're not going to become not fish. Yeah, so this is kind of like the thinking in a way. Your head wants to become a not head, or it wants to become free because it feels like it's bound. It's bound in duality, let's say, one-two-ness. Yes, subject-object relationship. The head is bound into that, and it wants to get free from that. So then spiritual practice comes in, essentially, because the head is trying to get free. Now, when we come up through with this body in our lives, when we grow up and the head comes online at whatever age, yeah, there's a sense that you are this body. And everything in the world is telling you that you are this body. So everything is telling you that you are a fish. It doesn't change the fact that you're not a fish, but everything is telling you that you are a fish. So when the fishness tries to become not fish and tries to become the space of the fish tank, it feels uncomfortable because a fish can't become a not fish. This is the misidentification of the not two or of non-duality, yes? The mental system is arising and we're identified as it. That mental system feels like it's bound by something. It feels like it's bound, and that makes it very uncomfortable because the mental system is extremely self-centered. It's like Wei Wu Wei says, all your thoughts are about you and that you doesn't exist. So all the thinking that's happening is in reference to a you that's not actually there, yeah? And that gets very uncomfortable. It gets very claustrophobic. So then the mental system says, okay, I want to get free from this. And because we're identified as the mental system, like the fish being identified as a fish in the fish tank, whatever the mental system says drags you around, essentially. And that's not difficult to see. Yeah, you can see that your head interprets life, and then your head from that interpretation has an idea, and then that's the way the body goes, essentially, because the head interprets to the body of which it's a part. Yeah, so your head, the mental system, is trying to become a spiritual one, or let's say a not head. In recovery, the individual would be called self, small s self. The head, the self, is trying to become a not self, and it can't do that. It's like the fish in the fish tank is trying to become the space of the fish tank rather than be the fish, you see? There's nothing inherently wrong with that, but what happens is being identified as self, there's a real dire need to become free from that. Now this message is negating that selfness and saying you already are free and you're misidentified with the mental. Yeah? So when the fish in the fish tank wants to become the space of the tank rather than the fish, the message is you're not a fish. You already are the space. Yeah? There's a misidentification as being a fish. And then the fishness feels very bound, or self feels very bound. It's hard to put it into language, so I'm just trying to think of metaphors. You are the space in the fish tank rather than the fish swimming around, yes? If there's any questions or something, please ask, because it just moves things forward. My son's chosen, not birth name, Jay Gatsby. Nice. Yeah. In other ways, like the clouds in the sky. Yeah. So clouds are moving through the sky. So you could see that a cloud is a body. A body is a cloud. And then there's clouds of thought. There's a clouds of emotion. There's a clouds of ideas and concepts and all this stuff that's going on. Yeah. This message is saying you're not a cloud. You are already the sky in which the clouds move through. Yes. But we're identified as the cloud. Because why wouldn't we be? There's a sense of individuality, like Ramana Maharshi says. And you are bound to that sense of individuality. That arises in your experience as the thought I or me. Yes? So now there's this body, which means there's a ton of other bodies. Yeah? So a cloud will only see clouds, essentially. Yeah? But the clouds are moving through a space. The clouds don't change the space, and the space doesn't need the clouds to exist. Yeah, what you are as awareness does not need the body and the mind to exist. It stands before. Yeah, in a way separate from, but these two things aren't separate. But as language would say it, you are separated from the body and the mind in a way. Yeah, autonomous, not the doer of. So the space doesn't need the clouds to exist, but the clouds need the space to exist. Yes? So we become identified as a cloud. The feeling that you're an independent individual thing. That becomes super isolating and uncomfortable, because if there's a thing here, then there's things everywhere else. which is not a problem, but the thingness is self-centered. Yeah, the thinking is self-centered. You're not doing that. In a way, you're being done to by that. You see? So this message is negating that idea that you are the thinker, the feeler, the taster, the toucher. Yes? And it could be negation or it could be inquiry, whatever, yeah? Whatever works. But the idea is that you are already free now. You see? So when the head comes online and says you are not free, then you inquire into who is not free. Yes? So this is the very basis of not two or non-dualities. You are not a body. It doesn't matter how many suggestions the mental system makes, it doesn't change the fact that you're not a body. Nothing changes the fact. It doesn't matter how believable these ideas seem. A poetic take on meditation. Breathe as if you are the sky, and every breeze belongs to you. Jaya John. Oh, that's a cool name. Breathe as if you are the sky, and every breeze belongs to you. Yes, so this message then is looking at the you. Is there a you in the center that breathes as the sky? And who owns every breeze? Yeah, what's the sense of being the one who's in the center? So breathe as if you are the sky. Who is breathing as if they are the sky? And every breeze belongs to you. Who is that you? Yeah, this is the inquiry. And this is what gets negated, because this is the two-ness. It's a beautiful quote. There's nothing wrong with any of this, but we need to see the duality of it, because that's what gets negated here, yes? So according to the quote, breathe as if you are the sky. So there's two things presented there, yes? You and the sky. That would be two. So this message, non-duality, would negate the breath, and it would negate the you who is identified as the sky. And every breeze belongs to you. There's a breeze and there's a sense of you. You see, the discomfort does not come from what's arising in this, the breath or the breeze, yes? The breeze and the breath are moving through space. But there's a thought in the head that claims it, that you are the one who's experiencing the breeze or the breath. And this is where the root of suffering comes from, or the sense of discomfort that causes addiction in the first place, yeah? It's the you-ness, in a way. That's a beautiful quote. It's nice. It highlights duality perfectly. Yes, and there's nothing wrong with duality, but it's good to see it, because then we can negate it. Because that's what opens you up to what you are. Yeah. So anything that gets presented as two-ness, in an absolute sense, I am the sky and I am the breeze. Yes, but it's like that Nisargadatta quote. I am is a thought. Yes. Now that thought is bound to a body. So he says I am serves kind of like two things. If it's bound to a body, it creates great suffering. But if I am is unbound from the body, this is your true nature in a way, yes? Yeah. This is the trickiness of the mental system. Questions and comments are really good because it just moves this whole thing forward, yeah? It highlights duality perfectly. Yeah. So, Right. So it's just tricky, because what happens a lot of times is people end up feeling like they are the one. Like the seer of the thought is the best example. Yeah. A lot of people feel that they are the one who is aware of the thought. But this is a sticky point, because you're still bound to being the one who's seeing the thought. And then there's a thought, and then there's you, and that's duality. Yeah. And now you're tied to that thought as the owner, the seer, the doer, you see? This message really looks at doership. Doership. Who is thinking? Who is seeing? Who is the one in the center, yeah? Ramana would say, don't leave that I, because everything comes after. Yeah. I'll get to that, Jackie. is an interesting thing that just popped up. This happens a lot when I talk about stuff. People bring up questions about, like, what about pain, or what about life, or what about the world and things, yeah? This message is looking at what comes before all of that. You see, if it's not seen, if the body identification is not seen, yeah, everything comes after that. All the therapy that's done comes after that. All the fixing of the body and pain comes after this message, yeah? If we're identified as the body, everything comes after that. Jobs, family, everything that's taken to be this life comes after that identification. Which in a way puts this message in a point of whose life is this anyways, yeah? This is what it kind of steps back to in a way. But there's all this stuff comes after the sense of individuality, the sense of being the one who everything arises to, yeah? It's everything gets seen through the lens of I. Everything. Yeah, so that word is not taken or used lightly. Everything comes after the sense of you. There's you, and then there's the world and everything that comes after. Yeah? So it would be very wise to look at the I, to look at the you-ness, because everything is seen through that lens. People want to fix the pain, they want to fix their relationships, they want to fix this and this and this and this, but they often don't see that it's the you, it's the feeling of them being the one which is distorting this movement of life, yeah? It's like moving it through. Just a second, just turn this thing on. I just got to turn this thing down a bit. So it's important, in a way, it's like there's almost nothing else to look into except this root of duality, of two-ness. Because everything comes after the sense of you. Everything that happens would come from the standpoint of you. Yeah? Meditation comes from the standpoint of you. If you sit down and meditate and focus on the breath, there's the sense of you being there focusing on the breath. If you go do ayahuasca, you're still there after the ayahuasca, unless it's seen. Yeah? It's like in recovery, they say something is playing God. Essentially, it's playing God on you, and it's the mental system is playing God with life. It's interpreting everything, and then it's interpreting that you're the one it's arising to. Now, that you-ness doesn't get looked at most of the time, because it's the lens being seen through. Yeah, I want to change this because these people aren't doing what I want them to do. I want this to be different. I want this to be different. I want this to be different. It's all that stuff gets looked at except the I. Yeah? Because it's kind of like overstepped in a way. It's like it's moved beyond. It's like it's the lens that's looked through. Yeah. We're seeing the world through individuality when that's actually interpreting the world. It's not actually the world. Yeah? It's an interpretation of that. Okay, how do I know who I truly am? Is this vast awareness? How to have a feel sense I am that space, not thoughts or body. We talked about this a bit yesterday. I don't know if you were here, Jackie, but there's a method from Zen Master Hokuin of settling downward and inward inside the body, which would be the first thing that I would suggest, because most people live in front of themselves and above themselves. The sense of the body is very fragmented, which, by the way, I should mention, you're not doing that fragmentation. As everybody has a fragmented sense of wholeness or individuality. It's just the senses fragment you. They pull you forward into objects. The mental system is fragmenting the experience of what's going on, both in the body and in the environment. You're not doing that. It's just happening that way. So, in a way, methods should, in my experience, unify that internal space first. Yeah. So that would be my first suggestion. I might record a course or something on that here and put it up on this app because a lot of people ask this thing. Yeah. Anyways, how do I know who I truly am this fast? So in this message, you are that. Yeah. There's a little book here from Ramana Maharshi. If you don't know Ramana Maharshi, he's a teacher, I guess, a guy who spoke a lot about non-duality and has been super helpful for me. Yeah, in seeing what's going on here. Yeah. So there's a thing here from him. Let me see. He says there is no greater mystery than this. So this would be the greatest mystery, according to Ramana. That being the reality ourselves. There you go. So how do I know that I am this vast awareness? Well, step one would be that you already are this, yes? According to Ramana. According to Ramana, being the reality ourselves. Not becoming the reality ourselves, but being the reality ourselves. Meaning the deal is done, yeah? You are what you're looking for. So all of the looking outside of it for money and relationships, drugs, whatever, alcohol, ideas, concepts, information. This is the big addiction. Information. I'm going to learn my way there. I'm going to get there. But you already are the thing, yes? Okay. So how do you know that you... How do you know... hold on. I know who I am in this... how do I know myself in this vast awareness? Well, you are already that, yes? Okay. So, if you are already that, then if we continue on with what Ramana says, let's see. So he says, being our reality ourselves, we seek to gain reality. We think that there is something binding our reality, and that it must be destroyed before the reality is gained. Jackie, hopefully you're still here. I can't see your picture, but it's a good question anyways because it brings this up, this quote. Yeah. So you are what you're looking for. We think that there is something binding our reality and that it must be destroyed before reality is gained. So if you are reality, being ourselves reality, yes? And then he says, we think that there is something binding our reality. So if you are reality, then what is looking to experience reality mustn't be you, yes? Because you are reality. So why would reality look for reality? Why would space look for space? Why would the Buddha look to find the Buddha? It wouldn't, yeah? This is the idea. It wouldn't. So everything that's looking to become free, everything that wants to experience awareness, yes, would get negated. You would essentially meet it with I'm not that, yes? Or you would inquire into it. Who is the one who wants to experience awareness? Because this is the thing. We think that there is something binding our reality. We think that there is something binding our reality. Yeah? So this would come back to thinking. Yeah? The head, the mental system wants to experience its own absence. It is dying to be there, to be the one who experiences awareness. And that's not what happens. That movement of wanting to experience your own awareness gets negated, and then there you are, because you already are what you're looking for, you see? How do I have a felt sense that I am that space, not the thoughts or the body? Settle downward inside the whole body and then inquire into who is it that is thinking, or who is it that desires for that awareness? Yeah, because you're not going to be there. You're what gets negated here. The feeling or the sense of you-ness is what gets seen as I'm not that. And then it steps back. It's like a boom, 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 boom. It's like a stepping back in a way, yeah? Okay, I'm not the eyes, so relax the eyes. I'm not the ears, relax the ears. I'm not the body. Okay, I'm not the sense or the thinking. I'm not the thinking. I'm not the one who the thinking's arising to. Yeah? Eventually, you're just going to step back far enough where there's nothing left to hit. or there's nothing left to negate, and then you stop, you see? Inside the body. Because you are reality. So, he says, being ourselves reality, we seek to gain reality, and that's the greatest mystery. So, Jackie, what's your question? Your question here is pointing to the greatest mystery. If you are reality, then seeking to gain reality is a big mystery, no? Hopefully you're still here, Jackie. If you're not, it's a good thing to talk about anyways. Yeah? So what's trying to gain or seeking reality needs to be put into question. In a way, met with negation. Because obviously you're not that. You are reality, yes? We think that there is something binding our reality. We thinking thinks there's something binding the reality. Because you are bound to the idea of you. Yeah? To the I. Right? And that it then needs to be destroyed. This is beautiful. We think that there is something binding our reality. That would be called the bondage of self in recovery. And that it must be destroyed before reality is gained. Isn't that interesting? So we're taking this body to be I, to be me. This is J, yeah? This is J. This body is J, but I'm not that. You understand? Something is binding our reality. What's binding our reality would be that I'm identified as the thinking or the searching, the seeking, let's say, the spiritual seeking. So when the head goes, I'm useless, and I have to get free of that. I'm always there, yeah? You see? So the I, or the sense of me-ness, has me bound to what's arising. One of those arising things is seeking to gain reality. So essentially there's something to seek to gain reality which isn't me. Yeah? But if I'm bound to it through the sense of doership of those thoughts, then I'm the seeker of gaining reality. But you are reality. This is where this message kind of pokes people's heads. They spend years and years and years and years trying to gain reality, yes? They're identified as the seeker. Well, this is saying you are reality. And what is seeking isn't you. So there's something dragging you around. If you're in addiction recovery, you know the feeling of being dragged around by the mind. You know the discomfort because you've been trying to get out of it with drugs and alcohol or sex or gambling or whatever the hell you're using, you see? Man. But you are reality. We think that there's something binding our reality. I feel bound to the body. Yes? Is this not your experience? You're not doing it, so I'm not blaming anybody. This is the experience. I feel bound to the body. So then this message is saying, well, that I is a non-existent thing, meaning it's not independent. Yeah? And that it must be destroyed before reality is gained. It must be destroyed. What must be destroyed? So many people go, I have to destroy the ego. Yeah? Or there's a saying, I hear a lot of people say, ego death. Ego death is a thing I hear all the time. I'm just going to follow this up before I talk about that. And that it must be destroyed before the reality is gained. It is ridiculous. It says that in this book. It is ridiculous. Ramana Maharshi, one of the greatest proponents of spirituality maybe in our generation, says that we think that there is something binding our reality and that it must be destroyed before reality is gained. And then he himself said, it is ridiculous. I have to tell you, as somebody who spent their whole life as an alcoholic and just battling the mind constantly, for somebody to say that identification is ridiculous is way better than any hit of a drug I can take. Yeah? It's like the most permission. It is ridiculous. Wow. So we think that there's something binding our reality. I'm bound. I'm stuck. I'm depressed, I'm happy. Yeah, I'm rich, I'm poor. I'm. We think there's something binding our reality. It would seem that that I is tying us to everything that's going on. Now I have to destroy that reality. Or no, I have to destroy that before reality is gained. But you are reality. Yes? Now the ego death idea is very interesting. Because if I ask you to hand me your ego, you can't give me anything, no? I see Suk Dave talking about Zen. This is like a Zen thing. Give me you. And you're not the body or the mind. Yeah? What are you going to give me? Yes. So, if something needs to die in order for you to be free, this is very important. If something needs to die in order for you to be free, then that thing would have to be alive in the first place. Yes? Uh-huh. That's very interesting. Because when you go look, because it's not so much the ego, people want to kill the ego, but it's the sense of who that ego arises to. Is that a thing that's alive? Is there a thing inside of this body called J, which I could identify as me or I? Because everything that's happening, I'm hearing sounds right now, seeing with the eyes, feeling, there's a sense of feeling, yeah? And in the middle of that, there's the sense of that all of that shit's happening to me. So if all of that's happening to me, then the sense of I would come before all of that stuff, yeah? But is there an I there, or is this just another idea? Because when you go look for it, it doesn't exist. Yeah, meaning it doesn't have an independent existence. But that sense of I-ness is that bondage. Yeah. So then there's a sense I have to kill it. I have to kill it. Well, you're not doing it in the first place. That's the mental system. Everything that's happening, there's seeing of things here. My head is claiming that this is an app I'm talking, and there's a little images, and then there's words over here. My head is claiming that. It's interpreting everything that's going on, and then it's saying it's arising to me. Yeah? This would all be the mental system presenting this to me. And it's just my interpretation. This head's. It's not what I am, it's what's happening. Yeah? So is it arising to a thing that has to be destroyed? This message would be saying no, it's not, by the way. I'll give you the answer. This is why he says this is ridiculous. You're trying to destroy something that doesn't exist. And we're identified as a thought, which comes and goes, moves up and down. And we're trying to find stability as that movement. It just doesn't happen. It's a misidentification. Yeah? When you go and look for it, there's nothing there. Before thoughts, there's just space, like the fish tank thing we were talking about before. And then there's a thought that comes up. Yeah? And it says, I, me. And then everything else kind of comes out from this, yeah? The illusoriness of it is that it's a thing. Because as soon as you say I, your head pictures you as a body. And then there you are, I, the body. Yeah? And then people will spend lifetimes, their whole life trying to get free from that. Not seeing that the misidentification on the first I is what's got them bound to everything that comes after, which would be all of the suffering and the running around and the trying to get free and the this and the movement here and the on and on, yeah? And it's not nobody's fault. Why would they question it? Why would anybody question it until they hear something like this? Huh? That the sense of individuality is what's binding us. And that it doesn't need to be destroyed. It's just a misidentification. That's why he says it is ridiculous. And then he says, a day will dawn when you will yourself laugh at your effort. Because it's like we were saying to Jackie here, yeah? When you will laugh at your effort. Because everything, all of the effort that's being made to get free is not your doing. Yeah? So you'll see the mental system trying to, I'm going to become free. I'm going to become non-judgmental and super compassionate. And it's not going to happen. because the head can't do it. You are free before it. You are reality. All of this stuff is popping up in reality and then disappearing in reality. Yeah? When you go to sleep at night, none of this stuff is here. You're not in deep sleep dreaming about getting free. Yes, when you wake up, the mental system comes online. The head claims it, that it's your mental system, and now all of a sudden you want to get free again. Yeah. When I was super depressed, I loved going to sleep. In hindsight, it's because the system I'd be free from the system. Without hearing this message, as soon as I woke up, the head comes back online and tells me I'm worthless again, and now I'm tired. I'm back on the game. But you're not the mental. Yeah. And then that mental system, as soon as it says I'm worthless, if I'm tied to the doership of it, I'm taking it to be super real. And then what happens? That one thought turns into 1,000 thoughts, which turns into a month of thoughts, and now I'm drunk for a month, trying to get away from the thoughts. Identified as what? The thinker of those thoughts. Yeah? So it'd be much more efficient just to go see if I'm the thinker, or if that's just another idea being presented from the mental system. Yeah? I'll read the whole thing again. There is no greater mystery than this, that being the reality ourselves, being, not becoming, being, meaning right now, you are reality. Yeah, right now. It's not by going to 1,000 of these talks or doing meditation for 100 years. You are reality, right now. That being ourselves reality, being reality ourselves, we seek to gain reality. So the question would be, if you are reality, what or who is seeking to gain it? Because it's probably not what you are, yeah? We think that there is something binding our reality. We think that there is something binding our reality and that it must be destroyed before reality is gained. But you are reality. So perhaps it's the thinking, the identification with the thinking that you are not reality, which has you bound. You see, because you think there's a feeling that those thoughts are yours, and that's what's getting investigated and negated here. Yeah? We think that there is something binding our reality and that it must be destroyed before reality is gained. It is ridiculous. A day will dawn when you will yourself laugh at your effort. That which is on the day of laughter is also now. You are reality. So all of this idea that I have to destroy, there has to be an ego death. The idea that the ego death, somebody would have to be there to know that the ego's died. Yeah? So the want for the ego death and the knowing that the ego is dead is the bondage of self. It's what before the ego, the sense of being the one who it arises to. That's what has us bound. And that it must be destroyed before reality is gained. But there's nothing there. You see? It's an idea that you're inquiring into. It is ridiculous. Okay, Sukdev wrote something. Might you speak to the Zazen practice? The Roshi said, Zazen is the active participation of loss. I believe you have Buddhist experience. Or in my Sikh yoga training, we say shunya. Zero mind. Shunya would be like equating to shunyata, I assume. Zero mind. To have all, you have zero. Same idea. You suggest an intellectual embracing. What do people do to work to get there? So Zazen, for those who don't know, is like traditional Zen practice, pretty much. Yeah. We could say like the practice of watching the breath for a very... that's not detailed enough, but it's kind of touches on it, yeah. Zazen is the active participation of loss. So Zazen and any practice, yeah, would be like, this is the thing. The system, like we talked about yesterday, is jacked up for most people. The mental system is firing at a high rate. People are living high in their bodies. The energy's really high. Zazen and things like Vipassana and stuff, these are methods for the body and the mind, yeah? So this message is not so much a method. It's not a practice. As Paul Hederman says, it would illuminate whatever practice you're doing. Yeah. Zazen is the active participation of loss. So he would, I think what he's talking about anyways, is like the, it's in a way the practice of letting go or not grasping onto things. Yeah. So it's being open to everything but not attached to anything. Yeah. So the practice of Zazen would be working towards that. Now the question is, who is the one who's letting go of? Yeah, I believe Buddhist or my Sikh yoga shunya. So zero mind. Zero mind would be like no mind. Yeah, in a way. Or in Chan Buddhism would be big M mind. To have all, you have zero. Yes. The thing is the you-ness. This is what gets people stuck, yeah? So Zen is the active participation of loss. There's a sense of, I'm going to let go. I'm going to let go. I'm going to be the one who's open. I. Yeah? This message is looking at the I. So these practices and methods are useful to settle down the individual. It's like the 12 steps, yeah? The alcoholic needs the 12 steps. That's why it works, because there's an active movement of seeing that self-centeredness is what is misleading you, and you lose faith in it. You move it to a higher power. Yeah? That's what works for the alcoholic. So that's for the individual, meaning the body and the mind. The body and the mind can be worked on. Yeah? Zazen works on the body and the mind. You see? Zazen is the active participation of loss. Sitting down, relaxing the body. When things arise, letting go. Not attaching. Yeah, working on this over and over and over again. Yeah. So zero mind. In a way, I personally don't have experience with Zazen, but this is just how methods work. Zero mind is the idea of no mind, meaning that you are reality before the mind comes in, you see? But if there's one there who's trying to gain zero mind, it doesn't drop. It's like you don't get the relief of it. Yeah. So you suggest intellectual embracing. I'm not sure what intellectual embracing means. But for you, what do people do to work to get there? This is the thing about doing, and this is why practice can be bondage. Ramana has another quote that says, presupposing the existence of a non-existent thing, meaning me being the body, and then wanting freedom for that thing, that non-existent thing, yeah? And then he says, I'm going to butcher this, but he says something like, therefore, your spiritual practices are binding you to being the non-existent thing. And what he means by that is every time you do something, what's doing is not awareness. It's not the ground of being. You see? So every time you sit down to meditate, there's a sense that you are the meditator. When you're watching the breath, there's a sense of you being there watching the breath. When you're listening to me speak right now, your head is interpreting what I'm saying. Yeah? There's a sense of you understanding or misunderstanding what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm not getting it. I get it. I. You see? The head is claiming everything that's going on. You're not doing that. We're just pointing it out so that it can be negated. Yeah. So if you want to do something, I always come back to that hakuin melting butter thing, because it's dropping. It's in a way very similar to Zazen, the active participation of loss. Releasing tension, releasing your grip on thinking, emotions, whatever, yeah? Over time, that settles down the individual. This is the thing, though. If the individual's super settled, the first thought that comes up is, I'm super settled, no? Or I'm the one who's going to get to zero mind. The mental system is not going to get to zero mind, because the I'm going to get there is mind, small m mind, yeah? You are what you're looking for. So any of the doing that happens is individuality doing. No problem. There's no problem with Zazen or doing, yeah? You're doing. As soon as your eyes open in the morning, Action is taking place. There's doing being done. It's just that you're not the doer of that doing, you see? So when you sit down to meditate and your head goes, I'm going to watch the breath, this message is saying you're not that I who's watching the breath. Is that I going to stop? Probably not, because the mental system is anxious. It's constantly reaching. But it doesn't change the fact that you're not that. You are before that, yeah? You are reality. Everything arises in reality. So in a way, what Ramana is saying is people, you get to a point where any doing is just binding you to being the doer. Yeah. So this is why he says, what's he say? Self-inquiry or self-inquiry or surrender. Self-inquiry would not be considered a meditation. Yeah, he does say in some texts that it's a method, but it's meeting everything. As soon as your head goes, I have to go do zazen, it would be, who is the one? Yeah, who is the I that has to go do zazen? That is the misidentification. You see, and every time you sit down to meditate, your head is going, I'm the meditator. I'm going to get free. I'm going to get out of this discomfort and I'm going to get into this discomfort. But there's always you there, eh, Sute? You understand? There's always you there. What you're identified as is not going to get to zero mind. Zero mind is already what you are before all of the doing happens, trying to get free. It's like Ramana says in this thing, there's something trying to get free. Yeah, otherwise why would we be doing all of this stuff? You see? Why would we be doing spiritual practice and searching and going to recovery? Yeah? Because there's a sense of being bound. There's a sense of discomfort. And this is looking at who that's arising to. But there might still be a sense of discomfort. Yeah, it might still arise. But the thing is when it's taken to be yours, the thoughts and the desires to sit and all these things get lit on fire. That's why Ramana says, stay with self-inquiry. Yeah. Stay with inquiring into who it is. Who it is. Because it's a mistaken bondage, meaning it's a misidentification with the body. The body is trying to get to zero. The body is trying to become a not body in a way, and it can't do it. Yeah, so in Zazen, essentially, you hit a ceiling where it's like the body and the mind settle, but I still feel bonded. Yeah, I'm still bound somehow. It's the I. It's being the one in the center of it who's doing it. You understand? I don't know if that makes sense, but it's... yeah, this is the thing. So it's good practice. And your shunyata would be emptiness. Yeah, because everything is inherently empty. It doesn't have meaning until the head gives it meaning. Or we as awareness give meaning to the head in a way. Yeah, so emptiness is like there's nothing in this phenomenal world which is inherently independent. Yeah, there's a sense that this body is separate or independent from others, and that's what this message is negating. Because otherwise we're bound to being the doer of all this stuff. I'm the one doing zazen. I'm the hearer, the taster, the seer, the toucher, the feeler. Yeah, all of these things. So zazen is the active participation of loss, but the question is who is the one doing the activity? Who is the one who's going to get to zero mind? Because according to Ramana and Chan, a lot of old Chan writers, you are zero mind. That would be your true nature. Now what hears that is the body, the head. Yeah, so now the head is going to go, I am zero nature. That movement of claiming of the head, negate that. Yeah, inquire who is that I. Because the head is claiming everything, including zazen, including Zen practice, including you being the one who's doing it. Yeah? So what do people do to work to get there? Well, the body and the mind needs to settle. If you're an alcoholic, you would go to Alcoholics Anonymous. Yeah. If you're a drug addict, you would go to a drug program, probably. Yeah. So that would settle down the individual. But beyond that, any doing would be, I guess you could call self-inquiry a doing. Yeah. When something tries to make a move, who? Or who am I would be the question from Ramana. From where does the I arise? From where does that come? Yeah. And then it steps back. Otherwise, all the doing has you bound to being the doer. And I can tell you from experience, that is going to go on forever. The head is always going to tell, I'm not free. I have to be free. I have to become a non-thing or something like that. Yeah. The mental system cannot become a not mental system. It's a system of two-ness, subject and object. It's not going to pervade that. It's not going to purify into a perfect non-existence. It doesn't exist in the first place. It's popping up and disappearing constantly. Yeah. So hopefully that touches on that, because it's such a good question. What do people do to get there? The other thing about the doing is the head gets addicted to doing. Big time. Big time. Yeah. In my experience, if people think that spirituality is not an addiction, it's maybe the worst addiction of all. Because it's got you bound to you being the one who's the spiritual seeker. And that the mental system will never stop seeking to become a not mental system. This is my experience. This is why this message is so important, I feel. And why I come on here every day ranting about it. Because the head is running you around. There's a feeling like I'm having thoughts, but really thoughts are having you if you're identified with them. Yeah? And it's not a blaming. It's just what's happening. And it's happening to everybody. Yeah? If you're identified as the thinker of the thoughts, thoughts are having you. Because you're not doing the thoughts. Yeah? Haven't you noticed? I mean, it's very obvious for somebody in recovery because the head is really wild. But if you notice when you go to bed, your head is firing off tons of thoughts about what's not happening, past and future, you know? The whole contents of the head is past and future. It's a time-based system. I was at work, now I'm at home, I have to go to work tomorrow. That is time, yeah? The head is content, and it will go way back to the time when you were 5. It's still resenting whatever. This person for kicking you in elementary school or something. This is the head. Have you ever noticed that it's not here? Yeah. It can't grab onto nowness in a way. Really what the mental system is trying to do is trying to become present. Yeah? I'm going to become present. But the head is never present. Look at the thinking. It doesn't have to be like wildly loud for you to notice that the head is always thinking about the past or the future. It can't go anywhere else. This is the system, yeah? There's just nothing wrong with it. But if you're bound to it, then there seems to be an unbelievable craving to be present. I'm going to get present. The head is never going to sit. Yeah? It's not like a dog that becomes obedient. Yeah? Even the dog who's obedient. I live with this dog. He's the best dog ever, but he ain't staying still for that long, you know? Maybe when he's sleeping. But after that, man, you know, sometimes I do like stretches for my back, and the dog I live with sits on the couch. As soon as I move a little bit too much, that dog is up, man. He wants to play around, yeah? This is like the head. Your head is not going to become stable in the present moment. Good luck, man. You will spend lifetimes. Actually, there's writers like Huang Po who say that will take eons. Eons. For an addict, that's terrible news. You're never going to get free. It'll take lifetimes. Well, F it. I might as well end it all right now, yeah? It's like, that's crazy to me. You are presence. You are reality. So what's trying to become present is not you, yes? This is what needs to be negated, is the ownership of that. And then the next time your head goes, oh, I'm not present, I need to be... You see that it has no clothes on. You see that it's just a happening and you're aware of it. There's an awareness of it, I should say. And then your head will go, I'm aware of the thought, yeah? So there's the thought, I'm going to become present. And then there's the feeling that you are the thought. You are the seer of the thought. You negate both of those. You meet both of those with I'm not that. And then where do you land? Present, peace. What you've been looking for, zero mind. With how much effort? No effort. Everything that's making effort is not you. Because you are reality. So anytime the head pops up and goes, I'm going to, no. Maybe no. What if I know? I'm going to do 10 more retreats. No. I need to do no. It's time to do drugs. No. It doesn't work, yeah? Because the head can't get free of itself. You get free from self. You don't train the head to be a no self. It's not going to work. You get free from the movement. And then what happens to the movement? You see. Yeah? Because the mental system is firing off at a high rate. Why? Because I'm taking it, if I'm taking it to be me, then I'm giving it all the fuel for itself, yeah? Who is left after my disabling stroke? Marlene, I'm not sure about the question. Yeah. Are there any other questions or something? Marlene, if you're there, I don't know if you want to explain that a bit more. Yeah. You're still with the fish. Who is the one who still thinks they're with the fish, yeah? I think I am still. You see? I think. Of course, the head thinks it's still an individual. That's the sense of individuality, yeah? So rather than what we're saying here is rather than trying to change those thoughts into non-thoughts, look at who those thoughts are arising to. Investigate into that inside the body. I think I'm still with the fish. That's a funny answer, though. Marlene, I'm sorry to hear about that. Who's left after the... I think you left. I think that person's gone. Okay. It's important to remember that this message is not like to change or alter the individuality, yeah? This is maybe the most important part. People try to come to this message of not to as a way to improve the individual. The individual, this is the same in addiction recovery as well, you know? The individual will alter when what's before it is altered. But the idea, like we were saying with Sukhdev there about spiritual practice and what am I going to do to get there? I need to work harder. I have to do more. I have to do more. It's all of that doing which has us more bound. In addiction recovery, the problem is self-reliance. Yeah? Because self is self-centered. The thinking is self-centered. And when you're relying on self, it's misleading you. I mean, these aren't my ideas. None of this stuff is my ideas. This is just stuff that's come through, yeah? So, when you are doing something, in addiction recovery, they know that self-reliance is the problem. Yeah, they know that already. So, it's when self makes a move, things get entangled, yeah? Essentially, what we're identified as in addiction is the mental system, and the mental system is suggesting a lot of terrible ideas constantly. So when you go into recovery, you see that system is powerless and that it's unmanageable, and then you lose faith in it. In the 12 steps, it's by moving it to a higher power, and then looking at the manifestations of self and how they've misled you. You understand? So it's not about changing it's not about changing small s self. It's losing faith in it. And then it gets influenced as you lose faith in it. This is the same thing. Yeah? This is the same when it comes to spiritual practice, for instance. It's not sitting down and trying to morph the mental system into a still, pure, compassionate non-judgmental mental system. The mental system is judgmental. It's anxious. That's what it does. That's what it's programmed to do. That's how you survive in the world, because you see a car and you know it's a car, so you don't walk in front of the car. Yes? Okay. So this is not about trying to morph that mental system into not a mental system. It's a negation. It's not an affirmation. You're not trying to obtain. You already are what you're looking for. So whatever's trying to obtain through whatever spiritual practice or whatever, you have to see that that's not you. That's not your true nature doing that. You are reality. You are reality. There's nothing wrong with the meditations, the spiritual practice or whatever. That's for the individual body and mind. But it would be great to know that that's for the individual body and mind, rather than spending all of your time trying to make that mind, that thinking, not thinking. Because it's not going to happen, and all it's going to do is you're going to get frustrated and frustrated, which serves a great purpose, because maybe eventually you'll give up on it. You'll give up on trying to change the head or trying to make the body into a perfect body. You'll stop searching because you'll see that it's never going to happen. It's one of the benefits of addiction, yeah? It gets so bad that you give up on it. And in the giving up on it and turning your will and life over to a higher power, as the 12 steps would say, your life improves. It's through the giving up on trying to make this individuality not individuality, and to see that you're not an individual. To see that the body is within the space. Yeah? There's nothing separate from the space which pervades this. There's nothing outside of awareness, let's say, or the ground of being. So in a way, yes, you are everything. But when I say that, your head takes it and goes, I am everything. The body is everything. And in experience, that does not equate to relief. Trust me. Because there the head is playing God with everything. Ah. Yes. Wow. The relief is that you are what you're looking for. You are. So when there's looking that takes place, that gets put into the courtroom of inquiry. Who is the one is looking? Try to find that in your body. And then another thing comes up. And then step back. Who is the one? I'm the one. Who am I? Where does I arise from? Yeah. Don't leave that point. And you will see that what's presenting itself is not you, because it presents itself and then it disappears. It's not an independent existent thing. Oh man. And it's really beautiful, because then you can see that all the thoughts that are coming up are happening. They come and they go, yeah. If we're identified as the thinker of those thoughts, it's going to be a real shaky existence. Yeah. Hanji. Okay, are there any more questions or something? Anything to share? Please feel free. In many ways, you'll notice, this message will stun the mental system in a way. It'll put you into pause. You are the pause. Yeah, you're not when the head comes back in. You're the pause. When the head is like, it has nowhere to go, you're the pause. That's how they say that in recovery. Yeah, you rest into the pause.